Argentina's economic disaster is a warning to us all, and the victory of Javier Milei is certainly a historic one with tremendous challenges. Let's talk about it all. Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for subscribing, for leaving your comments below, and also for giving a like to this video. The problem of Argentina has never been capitalism and certainly not been liberalism or what they call neoliberalism, but socialism of the 21st century. What the Kirchner style government, the Peronist movement, this socialism of the 21st century has done to Argentina is difficult to achieve. But the legacy that they leave to Javier Milei, the newly elected libertarian president, is very difficult to solve and is going to take a lot of action, decisive action, and certainly a lot of challenges. There will be significant ones. Let's start from the fiscal point. Argentina is a fiscal and monetary problem. On the one hand, the government has a structural deficit that is at best a 5% of GDP. Because of the lack of solvency and the lack of support and certainly of confidence in the Argentine government, that deficit is always financed by massively increasing money supply and printing pesos. So, on the one hand, the government spends way too much and certainly always above what they collect in taxes. Taxes in Argentina are expropriatory and confiscatory. They are always going after those that produce, and they burden the productive sector with some of the highest taxes in the entire region. In the case of small and medium enterprises, Argentine businesses can pay up to 100% of their sales in taxes. So, extremely high taxes, hundreds of them. Taxes everywhere, and many times duplicated taxes on all sorts of things, and also taxes on the revenues generated abroad. So there are more than 10 exchange rates of the peso, all of them false, obviously. That basically what they are trying to do is to absorb all the dollars that come to the economy in order for the government to continue spending like there's no tomorrow. Massive fiscal deficit, 5% of GDP, with a completely confiscatory tax system, and at the same time a government spending that continues to be very significant and bloated. And more importantly, and this is the key, when you look at the budget in Argentina, up to 25% of the budget goes to political spending that has absolutely nothing to do with social services, etc. So, very high taxes, very high deficit, very high spending, and the obliteration of the productive sector through the exchange rate clamp that makes every exporter lose when they export, and the dollars that they get are stolen by the central bank, by the government, with an exchange rate that is completely ridiculous and very far away from reality. The monetary problem is phenomenal. It's not just that the level of increase of money supply of Argentina is completely ludicrous and brutal. More than 1,000% increase in money supply in a very few years. But also the fact that the central bank has negative real reserves. That means that it has to continuously issue remunerated debt. That means more printing of currency in the future, because they, in order to keep the balance sheet afloat, they issue remunerated debt, and when it matures, they refinance it or repay it by printing even more money. So these LELIQs, these bonds, basically mean a significantly higher level of printing money in the future. So a monster fiscal problem with a monster tax problem with confiscatory policy in terms of exporters and all the productive sectors, and massive money printing lead to absolutely unbelievable inflation. 140% inflation, 40% poverty. Okay, so the figures are staggering and we don't need to repeat them. Massive deficit, massive inflation, massive money printing, a completely ridiculous level of government spending, political spending everywhere, basically stealing from the productive sector to keep the bloated political sector. Now, let's look at what happens now and what Mr. Milei will have to do. First, a decisive and very clear adjustment of the budget that will shred that deficit. I remind you that up to 25% gets lost in political spending that nobody really knows about. Furthermore, a very significant change in the laws in order to erase this exchange rate clamp that is destroying the exporting sector, erase and abolish all these stupid more than 10 exchange rates that the government uses in order to expropriate currency from hard currency from citizens, and also a very significant tax reduction in order to allow higher investment, improvement in the productive sector, a higher job creation. So those are important elements. But there's also an important element as well, is that by allowing the exporting sector to breathe and by reducing the burdens, tax and the tariff burdens that exporters and importers have, Argentina can go back to having a trade surplus. So, in order to dollarize, Argentina needs to take care of the problem of the LELIQs by making it impossible for the central bank to issue more of these remunerated debt and certainly to print more currency. With it comes a very significant reduction in the level of political spending and certainly an adjustment in the budget that is well constructed so that it doesn't hurt citizens. Many citizens have voted for the Peronists, for the Kirchner government, Mr. Fernandez and Mr. Massa, for a very simple reason, because they thought that their pensions and their salaries, the public salaries, would suffer if Mr. Milei wins. What nobody seems to be telling them is that their pensions and their salaries are being obliterated by the government printing a currency that nobody wants. So they're receiving a salary in a currency that is being completely debased and worthless. That's why they have 40% poverty. So many of these structural reforms will have to be undertaken immediately. The change of the bylaws of the central bank, forbidding it to issue more LELIQs and forbidding it to print more currency. The impossibility of the government to continue to spend above the tax receipts and to adjust those expenditures by eliminating political spending and all of those ridiculous subsidies that are not needed at all in the economy. Tax reductions in order to make the productive sector more competitive and to attract investment. Abolish and eliminate all of those tariffs and burdens, fiscal and administrative burdens to investment exporters and imports in order to attract more capital and at the same time allow the economy to be in a trade surplus. a very significant improvement in the rule of law by giving certainty to investors and to citizens about the changes in law so that they will not be reverted immediately if a new government was to come. There needs to be legal security, investor security. All of those things are extremely important. Argentina has a solution, but if you believe that the solution to your country is more government spending, more taxes, and more money printing, remember, Argentina is not far away from you. Keep defending freedom. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, leave your comments below, and keep defending freedom. Thank you very much.